history always repeats itself. Somebody would make a costume based on another cosplayer, but not know that they should credit them, or like not credit where they learned a technique. My experience in the United States, I think some of it does also apply to Europe and to the UK. So it'll be really interesting to see like what are the differences maybe that you notice, what are the similarities, and then if there's time after the presentation, there is a microphone on one side that you can, right here, that you can like come make your comments or ask me questions. So if you notice any differences, please tell me. I would love to know. Anyway, I'm gonna sit down since otherwise I'd be standing for like 30 minutes. And, okay, can you guys see me okay? Yeah? So yeah, let's go next because I want to first talk about how long we've been cosplaying. So in my case, I started all the way back in 1999. I chose a really bad photo of myself when I was a true newbie from 2000. And 25 years later, I'm still cosplaying, still going strong. So I would like to see a show of hands of anyone who's been cosplaying for more than 5 years. Hands up. How about anyone who's been cosplaying for more than 8 years? Okay, that's still, what, 5 hands? I have contacts in, so if there are more hands in the back now. So I see 5. How about 10 years? Okay, 3 hands, is that it? 10 years. Nobody else has been cosplaying for more than 10 years. I don't need 15? 1? Last one standing, 15 years. Okay, 20 years. No, okay, all right. So one of you has been cosplaying for more than 15 years. And some of you have been, how many of you have been cosplaying for less than 2 years? Okay, all right. So we have some newbies, fabrics, and that are sold at a big fabric store chain in the United States. That is not available widely in Europe, but I have seen cosplayers import that fabric, so I don't know, maybe. And I also designed a sewing machine last year that has been really, really fun, and that's what actually this costume was made on for the company Burnett and Bernina. So yeah, my products is like, that's another passion of mine and how I sort of see myself fitting into this emergent industry. Next. And lastly, I wrote a book about the culture and history of cosplay. So like, I've thought about these topics for a really long time. You know, it's like really interesting to me to always look back at like why we do this, how we got to be here, how the community evolves and changes over time. That's always been super interesting for me. So my book, Yaya Han's World of Cosplay, it was released in 2020. So not the greatest time for a book release. And yes, my book tour had to be canceled. But I'm really happy I wrote the book, and it sort of like gave me a lot of clarity on a lot of these topics and subjects as well. So I do have a few copies of the book with me, so if you want to come to my table in Cosplay Central afterwards, you can check that out. You can flip through the book, and if you want me to sign one, if you want to take one home, we can do that one as well. I'm happy to autograph it. Please get the book so I don't have to take it home, because they're really heavy to carry. So, all right. Next, now let's get into the topic of cosplay and the fact that today cosplay is a commercial industry. There's money to be made. There are people that only make money through cosplay, and it's like their career branches. So I'll talk about this in a little bit. Like, I'm just gonna prime you a little bit to give you an overview of like, what is it like today? So next. We live in a cosplay industry where brands and publishers hire cosplayers to promote their video games and their tech. And I think that is pretty awesome. I never would have imagined that that's possible, but like companies will literally hire you to cosplay your favorite character, and And it's like really incredible that we as fans, cosplayers as fans, are accepted by the broader industry, as proper marketing people to work with. And also cosplayers provide valuable programming to events, so they also get hired to travel to conventions. I came here from the United States to work, and so thank you, MCM, for having me. But these are all things that truly at one point seemed completely implausible. Next. We also are in a really booming DIY culture where cosplayers can teach crafting techniques and make a living through it. So whether it's in-person classes or through tutorials, how-to books, videos, or like they will create resources to help people make costumes, that is like the ecosystem we have created, where enough people want to pay money to learn how to cosplay that people can truly make a living from it. Next. And it is sort of like this freedom area that we're in, where anyone can cosplay, because we have ready-to-wear costumes catered to us. Like, you want to cosplay a character, just wait a month or two, and some company overseas has already made that costume, and you can just order it. Or there are companies that are making cosplay-dedicated products for mass retail. Like I said, fabric companies are producing, thousands and thousands of yards of fabric specifically with cosplayers in mind. And, those things are really, really exciting. Like, wig companies are existing because of cosplayers. So we are in a pretty awesome moment right now. Truly, we should all appreciate where cosplay is. But let's see how it used to be. Next. So my question is, like, we do need to sometimes ask ourselves, like, how did we get here? And, what did it used to be like before all of this? So let's travel back in time. Next. To the 2000s. So I think the beginning of modern cosplay really was like around the turn of the century. So in the aughts is where we really experienced the first era of modern cosplay. And I was lucky enough to be a part of it. Next. So I've put down some thoughts about what the mentality was like in the fan costume community. And the first thing, especially like in the United States, I definitely noticed this, is that cosplay and costuming were different terms. So people that are from, Star Trek, Star Wars, sort of like the fantasy era of like fan costuming before cosplayers came on, they were very averse to the term cosplay. They were just like, I'm not a cosplayer, I'm a costumer. And it used to be a true debate that people were like, if you cosplay from a Western source, then you're a costumer and it's costuming. But if you cosplay from a Japanese source, like an anime or video game, then you're a cosplayer. But that's because like there was like this age difference, like a generational gap. Cosplayers, we were younger because anime catered to a younger audience. And so we had less money. We also didn't know how to make things. So our costumes just looked, worse. And so these fan costuming people were sort of a little bit elitist towards us, and they were just like, you're not good enough to be a costumer yet. We don't want to associate with you. So the costumers, they had like budget, they had, proper sewing machines, could use like proper, like tools and like leather work, and some of them had like vacuum form machines and stuff, and they could make like proper armor and proper garments. And so they just, there was like a different communities, but then we all collided all the time at these events. Like you can't have a comic or fandom convention and cosplayers aren't allowed. It's like, we definitely all crossed paths all the time. And of course, back in the aughts, there was zero chance of making money. That is definitely, nobody had the mentality that you could make a single dollar or pound with cosplay. So let's be clear. Next. Okay. Like speed talking. Bah. Okay, so the community, what was it like? So 2000s, that was before social media. So before social media, the only way that we could communicate was forums and mailing lists. There was a Yahoo mailing list that I was a part of. That was the first online community that was cosplay themed I was a part of, and it was called the COSP mailing list. And then some forums that like certain cosplayers had, or certain like anime forums would have like a sub forum about cosplay or something. And then like, I don't know if anybody remembers like American Cosplay Paradise, ACP. That was like the first community website where you as a cosplayer could make a profile and have like a online presence. Also, we had very few resources or DIY info. Because there were no cell phones, we couldn't take progress, so nobody knew how to even share progress. Or like, I did not start documenting my costume making until like 2012 when I got a phone with a camera on it. So before that, I just had no photos of my costumes in the making stage. And so because there was also no way to post any progress, people didn't know that you should share how you make costumes. And there was this tendency to keep that information and be a bit like, elusive with it and secretive with techniques. So lots of people had to independently figure out, like if somebody wanted to make a pair of wings, now you would just go to YouTube and see, oh, how do you make wings? But back in the aughts, each person would experiment and figure out their own process of making wings. So it was just like not very efficient. And then the other interesting part is that while we within the costuming community were sort of had like our grievances and sort of like we were experiencing growing pains, the rest of the geek community, everybody else who did not dress up, they had no respect for people that dressed up. They just thought we were weird and extra nerdy, and like they were the proper adults. They had money to buy like laser disc collectible figures, and like we were just like the kids running around in like the hot glued outfits. So it was just like, those are the real freaks. So yeah. Next. So I love talking about the odds. Sorry, this is the longest section for sure. So very quickly, I love talking about the materials and such. So we had very limited choices because like we had Joann, which is the fabric chain that most cosplayers in America know, Walmart and such. Here, I think you have more like independent shops, but also like I'm sure in the aughts, like nobody was making fabrics with cosplay in mind. It was just like whatever random costume satin or Halloween outfit that you could, make. Like I definitely used a lot of materials from thrift stores. I bought a lot of like large dresses or jackets and definitely curtains and such to cut up to make costumes. And in the 2000s, it was like before we knew Warbler, EVA foam, so armor was all made from paper mache or cardboard, and then, swords were made with like whatever it is, like wood. Like if your dad had a wood setup, like woodworking setup in the garage, then lucky, you can actually have a wooden sword. Otherwise, it's just whatever it is, cardboard swords, a lot of them. And of course, we had no access to good wigs. In the aughts, it was just the frizzy Halloween wigs, or like if we went to a specialty wig, like fashion wig shop, the wigs were $500, something insane. No one knew how to dye the wigs either. They were all like natural fashion colors. And I think like eBay maybe existed back then. I don't even know anymore. So yeah, it was bleak. And next. And so yeah, last, just very, you guys can definitely read, I don't know, yeah, you have that above me. So we had hand-me-down sewing machines, hot glue, duct tape, everything was either spray painted or acrylic paint, but we didn't know how to use acrylic paint properly. So it was just like, there were no good techniques for applying it. So it was like acrylic paint on fabrics, fine, do it, whatever. There were no advanced hardware techniques. No one even really had a dress form. No, like this was literally before the days of people learning how to use a duct tape dress form, how to make one. So truly, we had no idea what we were doing, and it was like the Wild West. And somehow I do miss those days. I think like very fondly back on those days because it was a lot freer because you were not being held to a certain standard. So you could just cosplay whatever you wanted, and it didn't matter if your costume didn't look perfect because nobody really had a place to talk about it online. So it was like, there was like no pressure to be better. It was just fun and like truly sort of this expression of what you liked. So now I think that is definitely a lot harder. So anyway, let's continue on. Next, we're gonna jump forward in time 10 years to cosplay in the 2010s. And this is the era where fandom culture goes global. Next. So what was the mentality like in the 2010s? I think a huge reason that cosplay changed very fast is really the success of the MCU, Marvel's MCU, and superhero blockbusters just really taking over pop culture, taking over not like mainstream media. It was like it made not only cosplay cool, it made being a geek cool. So many years people were like moonlighting as a geek, didn't really want to say that they were comic book fans or fans of anime and such. And through the, like, Marvel made, you know, all this stuff cool. So it all of a sudden was like, oh, all these like media outlets wanted to cover cosplay, and you know, social media was like so perfect for cosplay because it's such a visual medium and it crosses genres. So it's like you tag it, so like the fans of the source material will check it out, and you'll tag it and cosplayers will check it out. So it's like it bridged so many different things, and cosplay just kind of really blew up along with, you know, the rest of the geek culture. Into the 2010s is when the term cosplay won out. Guaranteed. Nobody was like, I'm a costumer anymore. No, everybody is a cosplayer because that is just a cool term. It's a neat term. It's like, that's what, you know, and now it's being used obviously everywhere. So what changed sort of like the mentality was that, oh, now it's more like normal to share information because of the creation of YouTube. Because now you have smartphones and you can actually take videos and photos of your costumes, and then you have a place to post it on social media or on YouTube and such. And then I think like this was the era where we first started having chances to monetize cosplay. So it was like all of a sudden cosplayers could look at themselves as not just a fan or a hobbyist anymore, but this is an opportunity to build a brand. So now I can make a Facebook page, and now it matters how many people are following me on that page, and eventually Instagram and so on. Next. So the community, I think it was a pretty exciting era because we were improving very quickly. There's like all of a sudden, because people were sharing all the information, everything I said in the previous slide, now the quality of the costumes are rising. Now people are making really cool stuff because they're learning much easier. And because of the popularity of comic books and pop culture and fandoms and such, there are now more conventions because they want to capitalize on it. So the conventions are like happening so that more cosplayers can go to more events, more opportunity to dress up. And what do they do at conventions? Well, each convention needs more programming because the conventions are like, well, we have more of these people that dress up come to the convention, so we should maybe give them something to do. So they start introducing more cosplay programming. And then more photographers come to the conventions, are like, I want to photograph these cool looking people. So then more people get into photography. So it's like this building of a lot of innovations very, very quickly. And I think it just sort of culminated in, of course, a TV network was like, all right, let's make a TV show about cosplay. So pretty exciting time. Next. So the 2010s, the materials we were using, we also started to be more choosy. So now we seeked out more high-end specialty fabric stores. So it's like before, I think, when cosplayers were hobbyists, didn't have that much money, there was like, well, costume satin will do, it'll be fine. But then when it like became more important for your costume to look good, then it was like, all right, so maybe I should spend $30 or 20 pounds on a yard or a meter of fabric. Like maybe I should even buy this bridal fabric that's like 50 pounds because it's worth it. So it's like, but then you also have places like eBay and Etsy where you can find more, like now you can order things online and the products have pretty good photos so you can have a good idea of what the material is. With armor and props, I think definitely, without a doubt, the biggest game changers in the 2010s was Worbla and EVA foam. Both materials have existed outside of the cosplay space for a long time, but that is when cosplayers really discovered how to use them and how to make, pretty much anything with them. And I think there were like select people that started to sort of experiment with advanced machinery. So you will have somebody that came out with a 3D printed outfit. The first 3D printing techniques were used for cosplay. Somebody, had access to a vinyl cutter that is meant for scrapbooking, but now, or like meant for like t-shirts and such, now they're using it for cosplay. I think I used my first vinyl cutter for a costume in 2013 for the Red Queen. So, and I've been using it ever since. People that have access to laser cutters are like implementing it. There's like, how can I make something with it, to put on my body? Cosplay-focused stores like Arta Wigs and Epic Cosplay and such, they all start in the 2010s. I don't know what kind of wigs, like where you guys source your wigs. I think they're also European wig manufacturer, but it's like it all begins because there's the demand for it for the first time. So, okay, next. All right, I need to drink some more water, my God. Okay, so we're gonna now look at what cosplay is like today. We have time traveled, we're all the way back to today, and I wanna focus on career opportunities and what a vibrant world of hobbyist cosplay is. Next. So, cosplay is an industry. So, social media, cosplayers with social media numbers, they are influencers, and they are busy, constantly one brand-sponsored project with like next getting like have to promote this other item that they got for free. It's like, that's the influencer machine influencing cosplay. And myself too, I constantly get offers to promote things, and I have to kind of like think, okay, do I want my entire timeline every day to be spam of, look at this item, look at this cool brand, look at this thing? It's like you have to now be a little more careful about like how do you, deal with this demand and how do you stay authentic to yourself. So, but it is a influence industry now. Cosplayers get flown to events to promote brands, Gamescom and other big gaming events. All their booths used to have booth babes. Like they would go to a modeling agency and just be like, give us 3 models that fit these outfits that kind of sort of look like the characters maybe. And then the models have no idea what they're talking about, and they're just there posing. But now they can get cosplayers who are just as beautiful as the models, and they're like making the costumes. They know the characters. They're perfect spokesperson for your brand, and now the gaming companies know this. So, and then a lot of people enter cosplay now as a stepping stone into the entertainment industry. So they may not want to stay in cosplay for the long term, but they recognize that this is a fairly quick way to build a following and to like be at events, to network, and to be in front of a camera, and then eventually be able to move into the entertainment industry, either in front of the camera, or some people use cosplay to go into the costume making industry, like the Hollywood wardrobe industry. So they will start making costumes for movies and such. And it's like, that's maybe what they really wanted to do, but they were able to build a cosplay portfolio and get hired. Like I know cosplayers that have been hired by Weta that moved to New Zealand, and they got hired through their cosplay portfolio. And of course, we now have a lot of paywalled content. It's a huge branch of the industry for adult and not safe for work content. A lot of cosplayers do it, and they do very well with it. And I think it's it's something we almost like we have to respect and acknowledge that that's a solid career path. Next. In the community, we now have a really vibrant DIY culture. Like I said, we are eager to share information now. If you discover a new technique, you bet you're gonna record that and you're gonna put it on TikTok or you're gonna put it on YouTube, we all want to share as eagerly as we can. I think that's great. Cosplayers routinely write books about how to make costumes, and they are sold, they self-publish, because now you can get 3,000 books printed overseas and get it shipped over here. That used to not be possible. YouTube tutorials are on everything, like I said. A lot of people build a whole store with digital downloads, like Dangerous Ladies and such. And so yeah, all of these things, people do commissions for either a full costume or for props or just for a wig. Wig commissioners are in such high demand. And wigs, they're recognized as difficult to make, so people will pay $1,000 for a wig. And we have such a big cosplay community now that we even have a secondhand cosplay market. So routinely people can, sell their costumes after they've worn them and want them to go to a new home and be enjoyed continuously. That's something that used to be completely unthinkable. I think that's a great mark of how big the cosplay community has become now. Okay, next. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight some innovative techniques that used to in 2000s were completely unthinkable, but now are really just taken for granted and normal, standard. Fabric printing is one of them, where everybody has access to fabric printing now. Either you can get a suit that's sub-dyed, custom done, or you can buy it pre-made, or you can go to Spoonflower or any of comparable websites and get the perfect fabric printed for your outfit. So it's just so, that's just mind-blowing to someone like me from, the olden days. Next. I think 3D modeling is definitely like the thing. Like with 3D modeling, you can make everything. Like, doesn't matter. It's just anything that you can think of, it can be made. It's really democratized cosplay for many people, like people who are more engineer-minded and maybe less like hands-on crafty. They can, if they can 3D model something, they can get it printed, and they're a part of the cosplay community. So I think like that is certainly incredibly life-changing for our entire industry. Next. Most cosplayers now use, you can just go through the list. Like those are all pretty interesting things. Like everybody knows resin casting. Everyone knows how to put LEDs into their costume if need be. You know, even if you've never done it, you're like, it's not unthinkable. Like if you have a costume you want to do and there's like, it needs to light up, you know that you can find out how to do it. You know, it's like the information and resources are out there. We all use pretty proper sewing techniques now, you know, it's like because it's like fun to actually learn this craft and know that it's gonna make your costume more durable in the long run. Many people use airbrush to paint now, but so it's like not just painting with a brush anymore, they're like buying all the compressors and, you know, the brush and all of the stuff. Foam smithing techniques, you know, we all know how to, you know, seal the foam with the heat gun and such. And then I think makeup has come a long way. I think like everyone looks completely snatched now. Like we all have really good makeup techniques thanks to TikTok and YouTube and such. And even I have learned how to style wigs, even though I hate wigs, but I have learned how to do them out of necessity. All right, next. And I just wanted to throw in some advanced tools and techniques that I see at competitions especially. I judge a lot of international competitions, and the costumes that come in, like people have worked on them meticulously for 1,000 hours or more, and they're using really unbelievable techniques, you know, like ancient embroidering techniques and leather working from like region-specific, historically matching, like they're blending historical costuming with cosplay. Tambour beating, they're learning how to do prosthetics and cast in latex and silicone and such. They're making real swords out of, you know, out of metal and such. So it's pretty, it's really incredible. So tomorrow, of course, we have the Crown Championships of Cosplay, the preliminaries, and I am very excited. I guarantee I will see a big chunk of those techniques tomorrow in person. So I'm very, very excited to see them, and just love to hear like where cosplay has like really come. Like it makes me very proud. Next, and just as an example, like we have now people that can dedicate 3 years to making a costume that is literally the equivalent of a Hollywood recreation. So Amazonian Cosplay, she's a cosplayer from the UK. She won the crown in 2 years ago with the Game of Thrones Sansa Stark, Queen of the North costume. And her costume was pretty much the quality of what a studio of like 50 people made, except she just took 3 years to do it. The studio obviously did it much faster, you know. But the fact that now she could even source the same fabric that they used for the outfit in the show, and that is literally possible. You can message the costume designer if you want. You can DM them, and if they like you, they might tell you where they sourced the fabric. That is possible now. So I just want you guys to realize like where we came from hot gluing outfits together to now being able to make Hollywood quality outfits. It's pretty cool. Next. So I'm the most excited about now the market is big enough that the demand is there for mass retail products. Mass retail is completely different than small runs where you really need a company to invest hundreds of thousands of dollars into manufacturing something. And we have the customer base now that companies can manufacture fabric runs, or they can manufacture a whole trim collection, all with cosplay in mind. And that is what I've really dedicated a lot of my time in. Like, I make actually not as many costumes now. And my costumes these days are not that impressive because I don't have that much time to make them. I'm more, all my time is in meetings and development and, working to create these mass retail products. But I'm like, that's also like, that's my role in the community now. I'm like, I don't need to impress you guys by hand beating every single petal, like if I wanted to, I could, but I think it's more important for me to spend that time to make sure like a cool product is available for everybody. Next. So EVA foam products, I think like every country, every region has a brand now, and those have to all be manufactured. They have to be, like an order has to be put in months in advance. God, I'm losing my voice. Where like, they really have to think ahead and invest money in and get them shipped over on a pallet, and such. But we have EVA foam products available like in America, even in arts and crafts shops now. Next. And last year I spent a lot of time developing the sewing machine for Burnett. Many hours, many months actually. So very rewarding to see it finally come to be, but like I said, that machine is the reason I haven't made that many costumes lately, but I'm very happy with each costume that I've made on it. Singer also tried to dabble in cosplay, so they made a cosplay version of their heavy-duty machine. It's mainly just a sticker and a color change, but it's fine, they're trying, I appreciate it. Next. So that was sort of like, my presentation on where we came from and how we got here. So I want to end the panel sort of with some predictions for future innovations. And we have like 3 minutes left. So if anybody has any other predictions or any other comments to add, you can come to the microphone. Because this is pretty much the end of the panel. I think we'll see way more 3D scanning. I think one day we will be able to get a custom dress form made that is like cut out of, scannable foam. Like instead of it will literally be your body and you'll be able to just, fit costumes to it perfectly. More and more people, I think, will get into 3D modeling and such. And so yeah, all of those. Yes, I'd love to hear from some of you before we get kicked out. Yeah. Is the microphone on? No? Yeah. I found the button, I think.
Hello.
Oh. Did it?
I started cosplaying in 2010, and I've been in the community since about 2006. And at that time, there was only about 4 names: yourself, Jessica, I think it was Vampy, and Stella, and that was about it. With this new generation, do you think that what you brought to the community is getting sort of mass spread, but people are no longer knowing where it's come from? And do you think there's a problem with that, where we're kind of seeing diluted versions of techniques?
I think it's inevitable that it mass spreads, and maybe there are like certain times, like it's kind of weird, like when you've been doing it for as long as I have, you see sort of the same things repeating itself. History always repeats itself. So there used to be, a time where somebody would make a costume based on another cosplayer, but not know that they should credit them.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, or like not credit where they learned a technique. And like they do a tutorial on this technique, but they don't say, I learned it from that person. And there's sometimes outrage about it and such. And obviously the common etiquette is you should always credit, you should always like acknowledge the people that taught you things and that, helped you. So crediting culture is very important in cosplay. But even sometimes I just want to post a photo and I don't want to list every single person, I think it's okay for the most part. Like when you first post a costume, make a post and list all the places and all the people that have inspired you. Acknowledge it for once. But I'm not mad about it. I'm never upset about it. I think we just need to, should remember where we came from, but not to say like, you should all thank me for having whatever. No, it's about like, we should remember that it used to be a lot harder to do this. So we should appreciate what we have and, like try to make this community as open and welcoming to everyone as possible. So like, don't criticize someone who just started and maybe is not making like the perfect costume, right? Yeah. Because we all used to not make the perfect costume. So it's like, I think that's what it is. But,
well, thank you, and also thank you for how much you've done for cosplay, because I watched what you did for cosplay happen as a kid, and now I get to do cosplay almost as a job because of what you've created.
I love to hear all of that. I appreciate so much. That's all I've ever wanted. I've just wanted to be in the space and to contribute to it however I can. And I just want to see more people doing it. So,
thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Hiya. Massive fan. So
thank you.
I've got a couple of questions. So first of all, in terms of like your fabrics and everything, I mean, I've recently just finished making a costume which I'll be wearing tomorrow from one of your patterns.
Ooh, I love that.
I will be trying to find you and then like fangirl in front of you.
I would love to see it. I would love to see the costume.
The last time I was looking at your fabrics, yes, I think you distribute to the UK, but then there's like that huge extra cost of shipping. Do you have any plans to have actual UK distributors here?
It will require partnering with a distributor here. So it needs to be somebody in the UK who either has a shop or an online shop or a chain of shops. If they're interested, they can always contact me and contact Cosplay Fabrics. And it's about hitting the minimum order amount, to make it worth shipping a whole bunch, a whole pallet over so that it can then be distributed. So we've done that with Australia, with Spotlight, which is a fabric chain there, and a cosplay shop in Germany bought some yardage, and has started selling it over in Germany. But so if you know any distributors in the UK, any cosplay shops, tell them that our door is open, they can come to us and we can work something out.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say sort of forward from there is what can we be doing? Do we need to be emailing Hobbycraft and being get that fabric?
yes, make them aware that there is the demand. If enough people, demand it, then they might be some chain stores, they will try to do it themselves because they want to try to save the middleman money and try to see if they can develop fabrics themselves, but they usually are not very good. I've definitely experienced that where they try to just put some, lame in there or something. But I hope that if somebody in the UK is willing to sell the fabrics, absolutely, send them my way.
I shall keep Old Warrior on your behalf.
Amazing, thank you.
And my final question was, social media, as a person that's over 30, who has a mortgage and a full-time job, and I look at some of these new people, and I do feel like the social media industry changed after COVID. I feel like I had a massive following, and then suddenly I was one of millions,
Yes.
and I just could not compete. What advice do you have for people who have minimum time, minimum money because of bills, on how to build their social media?
There is no shortcut, and social media is a losing game. Just spoiler alert, it is a losing game because it's not there for you. It is there for the Mark
advertisers,
Zuckerbergs
yeah.
and such. And yeah, so my suggestion always is not how do you build your social media, is how do you build your brand?
Yeah.
How do you build your brand recognition? And the best thing to do is to make a website. Believe it or not, make a website. I think part of the reason I've been so successful over the years is because I've had a website since 2003.
Yeah.
And I've always had a place where people can come and see my whole portfolio. And so that's my suggestion. If you have anything you want to do, like make a website so that all the info is on there, and then just keep doing social media as normal, but direct it back to your website. So then it helps with giving you legitimacy and also gives you peace of mind that, you know, all the information is on there. The interested people can just seek it out. I actually do a whole panel on this topic, and I think I did it at MCM London last time.
Yeah.
And it always like, people are just like, what? That's what you have to do? Like, yes, go
It's
back
a
to
lot.
making a website. So, but,
Thank you very
thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
We're I think out of time. Are we being kicked out? Can we take one more question? We can't? No? Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Please come to my table in Cosplay Central. We can chat more. Okay? You can ask your questions there, make your comments there. I'm gonna go over there, and I'll be there from 2 to 5. So come see me. Hope you guys all had a great morning, and I'll see you around.